Members, we're being asked or put into a situation of take it or leave it. But I firmly believe there are always more than two choices. A legislative body sits down at the table and they work out agreements, and sometimes they're tough agreements. This Senate has tried and tried and tried to work out an agreement with the House. We have said we agree that vacation rentals should be paying transient accommodations tax and GET. We agree it is easier to collect these taxes through the platforms. The one area that we have disagreement is whether this measure should also provide some language that allows the counties to enforce their land use zoning and to restrict vacation rentals from taking over communities. We are being told that Senate Bill 1292, House Draft 3, does protect the counties because it requires information about the vacation rental to be posted on the advertisements. The problem is that requirement is placed in the sections of the law that apply to the Department of Taxation. Those requirements cannot be enforced by the county. They can only be enforced by the Department of Taxation. And by the way, those requirements have already been in law for 3 years, and the Department of Taxation has made very clear that they don't really care about whether there is a local contact listed on the advertisement. Their job is purely to collect the tax. We cannot rely on the Department of Taxation to enforce those provisions. And I don't blame them, because that is their job, is to collect the tax. That is why we need a bill that makes it clear that there will be some assistance to the counties, because the way that Senate Bill 1292, House Draft 3 is written, the internet platforms will be a shield for the illegal operators, and the counties will not be able to get that information to do enforcement.
So now we're worried about housing, homelessness, Hawaiian families not having homes. Well, if we legitimize all of these guys, who's going to rent the homes? Not my family, not your family. People that's coming in our community that's only there for vacation, when that could be housing one of our family members to rent, lease, live, bring the family up. It's not a temporary solution. Our community is hurting, and I fight for my community, and I'll tell you why. Because we're losing this battle. We grumbled all this time since I've been here. All I heard was the city is not doing their job.
I rise in opposition.
Please proceed.
You know, a lot have been said by others smarter than me about the legal ramifications of this bill and its effect on counties. I'd like to talk just a minute about the long-term effect on our economy and our society. You know, our Governor Ariyoshi said just yesterday, do what's right for the society of Hawaii when you consider a bill. In my business experience, you know, I had fairly humble beginnings, and I started a business from scratch, which has done very well over the course of 20 years. And to get to this point required taking the long view of financial situations in general. At any given moment, how much money we make this year is not as important as how much money we make over the next 5 or 10 years. Many times we've had to take money that I could have taken to the bank and reinvest it and put it into infrastructure and marketing and understand that the rewards will come in future years. So the trade-off of money now for less money later, or a much worse situation later, is not economically smart. It's penny wise and pound foolish. We also have always to look at both sides of a ledger. Money coming in, there's benefits and there's costs. Right now we're looking at only the short-term benefit. $46 million this year, it has been said. But But we have to consider the cost on the other side of the ledger. What is the cost of the loss of a livable society in our state? There's numbers to that. They're not as easy to get to. They'll become real over the next 5 or 10 years if they're not real now. What is the cost of increased homelessness instead of addressing homelessness? Less affordable housing, which is the direct result of the continued proliferation of vacation rentals. More loss of jobs for hotel workers who are already having their hours cut and laid off. If they didn't come to your office the last couple of weeks, I don't know why. I have sympathy for those people. What's the cost of more poverty in our state? What's the cost of the stress, including the dramatically rising suicide rate in our population from the stresses of society and homelessness? And of course, what is the cost of more and more of our people leaving our state for the mainland because they can't afford to live here? And I submit to you folks, as someone who has a little bit of experience in long-range business planning, that it's a very bad bargain to take what money you can get now and leave the disaster for future years.
Thank you. Further discussion. The problem that we don't foresee on the short term that we're looking at right now is inventory. I don't know about your guys' community. We're one of the most growing communities out there on the west side. If we don't have enough inventory, supply and demand, prices go up. People cannot afford to live in there. Kids are graduating from Campbell High School, or future graduates from Campbell High School won't be able to live and afford in their own community like I do. So that's what I'm asking you guys today. When you guys thinking about this bill, think about the inventory, because as soon as they saturate our area, believe you me, they'll go Aiea, they'll go Manoa, they'll go all over. Because why? Accessibility and availability. They're gonna be able to do it all over. Our area is very much victimized because it's cheap, very cheap. We have the most beautiful beaches, beautiful view of Waikiki. So they go on the internet, they buy these homes, never step foot here, rent them out. By not passing this, is going to chastise our future residents and future children's residency in Ewa Beach. Right now they're building Ho'opili, affordable homes. But what is affordable? 700,000? 800,000? Well, the people that I live by, and I live with my dad, my father-in-law, and my wife and my daughter. Now, if you could ask if I could live by myself, no. Could I buy a house in Ewa Beach? The answer is no. So this is the things to think about when you guys are thinking about voting for this bill. It's not just about the money and the tax collection. It's about lives in different communities that we're going to affect for generations. Not just today, generations. Because these guys are going to come in droves. They're waiting right now. They're watching. They're listening to us. Once this passed, North Shore won't be the North Shore anymore. They'll be gone.
The senator from Lahaina said this was an Oahu problem. This is not. The mayor and the planning director for the Big Island of Hawaii are asking for this. They say that they need help. The mayor and the planning director for the county of Maui is asking for the Senate version to go through because they need help. The mayor and the planning director for the county of Kauai is asking for the help. This is not an Oahu problem. This is a statewide problem. 1292, as written, will allow the internet platforms to be a shield for the vacation rental operators, and all 4 counties oppose it, say it's going to make it extremely difficult to impossible for them to enforce their land use and zoning laws, and they need the Senate position to prevail. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Senator Kahele?
I'd like to add comments to the Senator for Waimanalo as if they were my own.
So ordered. Senator Kidani,
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support.
please proceed.
Colleagues, earlier I talked about the amendments to Senate Bill 78 and what it meant for our pre-K children. In this bill, there are 18 charter pre-K classrooms that could lose funding because we do not pass this bill. Are you willing to tell those kids, go home and stay home, we don't have room for you, we can't afford it? Are they going to wait 5 years for the counties to get their act together? This is our problem, our issue. There is also funding in Senate Bill 78 for 10 additional pre-K classrooms. A total of probably over 550 children will not be able to go to pre-kindergarten and start their early education, as we all know is super important because of the brain development at that early age. Colleagues, I urge you to please support this bill.
Thank you. Further discussion?
I share the concerns brought forward on enforcement. I just wish this debate happened 2 weeks ago when I asked for this debate to occur before we started funding bills. I had a conversation with the senator from Waimanalo who asked me to hold off because she wanted to leverage this bill so that she could get the House to make some movement. We acquiesced and we allowed for several days. This bill wasn't heard for another week and a half later. Her exact words were, go ahead, give WAMFIN approval, the bill will probably pass and we can fund bills. Well, that's not exactly what happened. I think we funded a lot of necessary and needed programs, homelessness, education, higher ed, and the list goes on. There's 15 bills, and if anybody wants to read it, somehow Civil Beat got it. So I don't think it's that hard to find. And we've had this conversation many times in the caucus, that there are two sides to this coin. I wish that there was the enforcement language. Unfortunately, there were unsuccessful efforts to try to leverage the House. In the meantime, we funded bills. And we can't really go back, open up all those bills and figure out, okay, how can we adjust all these different bills so that we can make $46 million disappear? It's not that hard. It's not that easy. The only way we can do it is to actually recommit whole bills with dollar amounts, because we're on the second to the last day of session. So there are going to be consequences. I shared with the caucus earlier that already by 2021, the estimated in the red is $58.7 million. So $46 million is $46 million. But we're going to be in the red in year 2021. We're going to start to have to really, really cut programs. As was mentioned, I asked the senator that brought up, well, we need to prioritize. I don't disagree, but I want to hear from any committee chair that says, you can take my bill off the list. It's not important. It doesn't help Hawaii. You can take my bill off the list. I haven't heard that. If we're serious about funding these needed programs, then we should have had this vote earlier so that we could have prioritized and maybe give a little bit less so that the program could still go forward. But that's not the case, and that's not possible. I wish it were. I feel frustrated that we're in this position. I wish that the senator who had made that commitment to hear this bill earlier follow through so that we could have funded things differently and actually fed every single committee chair equally and fair so that we could still move Hawaii forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, again, the motion is to approve. This time a yes is yes and a no is no. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Baker?
Yes.
Senator Chang? Senator Dela Cruz? Senator English? Senator Favela? Senator Gabbard? Senator Harimoto? Senator Ihara?
No.
Senator Inoue? Senator Kahele. Senator Kanuha. Senator Keith Agaran. Senator Keohou Kalole. Senator Kidani. Senator Kim. Senator Moriwaki. Senator Nishihara. Senator Rhodes. Senator Riviere. Senator Ruderman. Senator Shimabukuro. Senator Taniguchi.
Aye.
Senator Thielen. Senator Wakai. Mr. President,
Aye.
13 ayes, 12 noes.
Thank you. Senate Bill number 1292, House Draft 3, passes final reading.